Hello everybody. Today we will be discussing our lesson on opioids. The Sumerians were the first known people to use the opium poppy plant 6,000 years ago. The Egyptians used it 2,500 years ago. The Greeks and the Romans also used it. The Chinese were the first to outlaw it just over 300 years ago. The Germans worked on extracting and concentrating it 290 years ago. Before this, it was used primarily by smoking it, but pharmaceutical industries used it after this time for therapeutic uses. Two compounds came out of the poppy plant by the Germans, both morphine and later codeine. Americans at the Bayer Company formulated a higher concentration called diacetylcodeine just 125 years ago. Opioids are narcotics with two primary therapeutic purposes, which are analgesic uses and antitussive uses. Analgesic means pain relief. Antitussive means cough suppressant. Opioids allow neurotransmitters called endorphins to be released in the brain. Endorphins are endogenous substances in the digestive tract. These endorphins stimulate opioid receptors in the brain. Endorphins are released in greater numbers via opioids than the amount of endorphins that get released upon pain felt by eating hot peppers. Prescriptions are legally written by physicians for their patients. The purpose is mostly used as a pain or pain management problem. People who have lots of surgeries and discomfort are allowed to have more of these written prescriptions. There could be conflicts between varying medications, like in one particular case in Portsmouth, Ohio, with an overdose case. Abuse stems from the fact that narcotics stimulate opioid receptors and dopamine gets released as a response. Dopamine gives rewarding, pleasurable, and euphoric feelings to the person who uses the drug. Abusers end up using the drug beyond normal pain management by appeasing the feelings of not having pleasure. Thus, the abusers take more opioids. The ethical dilemma is that the drug abusers are ruining the use of pain management for other people who do not abuse drugs. Pain management is commonly argued as a human right, but it is growing increasingly difficult who is actually in pain due to pain being a subjective perception. Physical dependence happens upon a person developing tolerances to lower doses of drugs. In other words, people get desensitized or get used to the lower doses of the drug. The drug user tolerates the lower doses while seeking higher doses for a pleasurable response. This hyped up pleasure response feels normal to the drug user. It does require either taking the drug for a long period of time or a higher frequency of drug doses to form a physical dependence. When the drug user takes either no drugs or a small dose of drugs, it gives the feeling of withdrawal. Withdrawal gives sickening feelings to the drug user because the pleasure threshold has already been raised much higher. In other words, the higher dose of the drug gives the feeling of normality, as if the hyped up pleasure response from the drug is normal. Psychological dependence of drugs is all about doing an action called a compulsion to appease the burden of non-pleasurable feelings. Just think about it as being analogous to obsessive compulsive disorder. An addict has an obsession to seek the drug, and the compulsion is to acquire the drug. Drug addicts often do residential rehabilitation, outpatient counseling, and self help. These three tactics are commonly called relapse prevention. There are three parts that drug dependents would commonly use as an intervention, which are withdrawal treatment via drug adjunct therapy, maintenance of addiction with the help of opioid like drugs, relapse prevention through behavioral modification, and this includes drug rehab specialists, counselors, and self help strategies taught from these specialists and counselors. Associated rehab specialists help people to reduce the amount of drug use by weaning the addict off of it. The rehab specialists would help the addict avoid all associated activities of the particular drug. The rehab specialist would help the addict seek satisfaction from non drug related activities. All of you will choose one approved novel about the topic of drug and substance use and abuse. Approved books for you to read would be You'd Be Home Now by Kathleen Glasgow, Go Ask Alice by Anonymous, That Was Then, This Is Now by S.E. Hinton, Crank by Ellen Hopkins, Glass by Helen Hopkins, or Fallout by Ellen Hopkins, Forged by Fire by Sharon M. Draper, Heroine by Mindy McGinnis, Jay's Journal by Anonymous, Jim Candy by Carl Duker, A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich by Alice Childress, Saint Death by Marcus Sedgwick, Dope Sick by Walter Dean Myers, The Boy Most Likely To by Huntley Fitzpatrick, or Run the Game by Jason Myers. You are to use the knowledge from the textbook and your novel to discuss health knowledge, positions of the characters on the drug use and abuse, any beliefs and norms that the characters needed to adopt to maintain healthy behaviors. The discussion questions that you'll be answering about your novel would be what the novel is and who wrote it, summarizing the novel, critiquing the novel, likes, dislikes, or any neutral feelings about the novel. How did you feel while reading it? How did the characters and the main character cope with the drug problem? How would you have intervened with the drug problem if you were in the main character's friend, if you were the main character's friend or family member? How would you have handled the drug problem if you were the main character? Thank you, and good luck on all of your class projects for the drugs and substances section of health class.